Hi everyone, and thanks for joining our quarterly Aptem product roadmap webinar. My name is Dan Tiffany. I'm the head of product at Aptem, and I'll be guiding you through today's session. So just to go through some housekeeping stuff, we'll be recording this session, and everyone who's registered will receive a copy by email. Please feel free to share this with colleagues in your network. You'll be muted throughout the webinar, so if you need assistance, please use the questions function in the top right-hand panel. And you can also ask questions about the content of this webinar using the questions function in the top right corner of this window. It's the icon with a little question mark. We'll address a selection of the questions at the end of the session, and we'll address any common themes that come out in our follow-up. So, what are we going to talk about today? Today is really about two things. Firstly, reflecting on what we've delivered over the past year, and also looking ahead to where the platform is going next. I'll start by walking through our 2025 product highlights and then show how our 2026 roadmap is shaping up. I'm also joined today by two colleagues who will be sharing some exciting developments. We've got Graham Hulbert on the call, our lead UX designer, who's going to be introducing our new Learner app initiative. And we have Lawrence Careys. Lawrence is our product operations lead, and he's going to talk to you today about our Aptem community and how we're looking to strengthen customer enablement. So before we jump into specifics, I wanted to set a little bit of context. Everything that we deliver is driven by three consistent goals: improving learner engagement, reducing operational burden for providers, and building a platform that scales with the sector as requirements evolve. So today isn't just a list of all of the features, it's about how the platform is moving forward to support providers in delivering better learner outcomes while managing growing compliance and operational complexities. So if we focus in on learner and tutor experience improvements, over the past year, we've focused heavily on making everyday tasks faster and simpler for both learners and tutors, improving actions, reviews, reporting, and reducing friction across common workflows. We've also invested significantly in reducing manual workload through smarter automation and AI-assisted capabilities, helping providers to spend less time on admin and more time supporting learners. We've also continued strengthening compliance support, audit readiness, and platform performance so that customers can scale confidently. Collectively, these changes represent hundreds of individual improvements, all aimed at making Aptem easier and more effective to use day to day. Those are the themes. So looking into 2026 and what we're looking to deliver. So first, we're going to continue to invest in learner engagement and experience, making participation, evidence capture, and progress more intuitive and mobile friendly. Secondly, we're doubling down on operational efficiency, helping providers manage growing learner volumes without proportional increases in admin overhead. And finally, we're continuing to modernize and open up the platform so that it integrates more easily with the wider ecosystem that customers depend on. Over the coming quarters, you'll see more detail emerge as initiatives merge into delivery, but this gives a clear view of where we're heading from a thematic perspective. But let's dive into a little bit more detail. So we'll continue to work on marking aid. We're looking at really simplifying management of marking for large cohorts, bulk assignments with clear oversight, greater efficiency and consistency for tutors. We're also on the cusp of launching a brand new initiative, which is Activity Log. That will actually go live to early access customers next week. This is dedicated off-the-job logging, streamlined logging with enhanced traceability, improved accuracy, compliance, and audit readiness. Additionally, this feature is likely to come to a mobile app near you at some point soon as well. More on that later. We also continue to invest in enhanced reviews. So Late last year, we launched Review Summarization, which is essentially a AI-powered summarization of a review, meaning that tutors and learners could focus on the conversation and allow AI to do the work in the background of generating a summary of what was spoken about in the review. A step on from that, we're now looking to derive actions from that AI summary, so automatically generating suggested actions based on how that conversation has gone. From that, we will also then look to provide structured insights into trends and risks, driving informed decisions with less admin, and that will carry forward into future reviews. We'll continue to do some work on the virtual assistant, or AVA. We're focused on personalizing the virtual assistant, making it more configurable, more context aware, and with the possibility of reflecting employer or provider language in the responses that it gives. Ultimately, we want AVA to be a massive booster to learner engagement and for it to continue to be relevant to those that use it. During 2025, we also spent quite a lot of time researching and discovering what we might do from a learning plan perspective. We've spoken previously about our aspirations to create a modular management approach to delivery. That continues. We want to create flexible, modular structures for adaptive delivery, and it's becoming ever more pertinent. We want easy content reuse and configuration. We want to increase agility and scalability. The first venture into this space that we're likely to make this year is to grant employers access to the learning plan, which is a frequently asked for feature and something that we're now actively exploring and looking to deliver this year. And finally, we're looking at forms, so capturing and managing learner information. We want to introduce streamlined learner data capture. We want to centralize information management. And the first iteration of this is likely to be connected to some work that we've been doing around reviews. And this is not enhanced reviews per se, this is reviews end to end. We're looking at that process and where we could potentially improve it. One of the first steps to doing that, because that feature relies heavily on forms, is looking at how Form Builder works. So more information to follow on that in future webinars. So one thing that is on the roadmap that I haven't spoken about extensively and is likely to be one of our biggest investments this year is a dedicated learner app. And to support what we're aiming to achieve there and how we're approaching it, I'll now hand over to Graham, our UX lead, who's been shaping the experience from the ground up. Graham, over to you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, so as Dan mentioned, I've been looking at developing a learner app over the past, well, almost a year now. So just wanted to go with some background around why this project started, where we're looking to go with it, and then I'll jump into a short demo to show some concepts. So I've been thinking for a long time about the learner's experience within Aptem and how I want to focus on that as a use case and making it easier for learners to access the system, perform what they need to perform in the system, and just overall simplifying the experience. So as part of that, I started to think about how that could be adapted into a mobile app. And coincidentally, around the same time, we had the Aspire conference last year, and I spoke to a number of customers who also expressed an interest in Aptem having an app, or the question was posed to me, why don't we have an app? And I thought that was an interesting question. So started to think more about what that could look like. And then lastly, in terms of why you might want to do an app, I think it's fair to say these days, particularly with younger demographics, that there's an expectation that there is just an app for most, functions and things that you interact with online. So taking it from that perspective, I've tried to focus it on that sort of approach. So initially started to think about what that could look like. For me, it was clear to differentiate it from console in the sense that I'm not looking to replicate every feature that happens on the desktop experience, and focus the learner app on what makes sense as something that you're holding in your hand and the scenarios around that. One of the first features that seemed to make the most sense was the new activity log that Dan's mentioned, particularly from the point of view that if you're logging your off-the-job hours, you may not have access to a desktop, and some learners, in fact, don't have access to a desktop at all in a lot of cases that I spoke to. So it sort of practically made sense to have that readily available, a phone which pretty much everyone has these days. Other features I've been considering are things such as messaging within the app, using the app's native functionality with regards to notifications, so we can improve notifications through the system. And then other features such as learning plan and the Aptem virtual assistant. With regards to those other features, I'm very much looking for feedback on other things that could be suitable for a mobile app, and that's something I'll look to progress as we move forward. Finally, as part of this stage, I spoke to a number of customers as part of the activity log research, and showed them a brief prototype as I had it at the time, and just to get people's thoughts and feelings on whether this is something that Aptem should pursue. I have to say the feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and pretty much everyone agreed that this is something that we should spend some more thought on. So that helped to progress the project further from that point. So now we're kind of at the current stage of things, which is the team are working on the minimum viable product version of the app, with a view to having a beta trial phase, which we're very keen to get customers involved with. I'm very keen to speak to those customers and, more importantly, the learners themselves as part of that research phase, so we can qualify our ideas and make sure what we're including in the app is the right sort of thing, and make it, the best that it can be for our users. I'm just going to jump to my screen now so I can show you a quick prototype, which will help demonstrate the direction we're looking to take this in. Just one moment. Okay, assume you can see that. Yep, thanks, Alex. Okay, so yeah, just jumping into the app here. One thing to point out initially, this will be the same credentials that learners use currently on the desktop, so no extra sign-up processes will be required. This will be available via the Apple App Store or the Android App Store, as part of a, as I say, a native app rather than logging onto a website, which is sometimes another approach people take. So I'll just go to log in, enter my details. So this brings us to the home screen. For me, a key design principle about this app is to keep things simple and relevant. There's a lot of information that we could present at this level. What I've been trying to achieve here is just presenting learners with things that they need to essentially pay attention to and maybe take action on. So as mentioned, the activity log, it shows a brief summary of things that have been happening with regards to activity log, and such as tutors perhaps rejecting some off-the-job hours or ones being approved and that sort of thing. And then a brief summary of the learning plan, just in terms of the components that are coming up soon. These are both explored in more detail in the actual screens themselves. So with regards to the activity log, as you can see here, there's a full list, or there will be a full list of all the hours that they've logged and each entry and the status of it. And then also from here, crucially being the point where they can log an activity. This form will be identical to the one that's on the desktop, so the user experience will be consistent there. They can work their way through this form, fill out all the details that are required, and then log an activity. Secondarily, there is the learning plan. Again, with an emphasis on simplicity, at least to begin with. This is a slimmed down version, I suppose you could say, of what's currently available on the desktop. I think for me, the function of this is to really give them a quick reference to their components that are upcoming and things like that. So you can go into each individual component and see some of the details. That's not to say we wouldn't think about adding functionality that exists on the desktop here, but I think we have to be very selective about what makes sense from a mobile point of view. Lastly, we're hoping to include the Aptem virtual assistant. I think, ergonomically, you could say this makes sense, and similar to a chat interface, learners being able to query the Aptem virtual assistant for things regarding their apprenticeship on the go when maybe they don't necessarily have the opportunity to contact their tutor. But similarly, as mentioned, we're hoping to also include the messaging service for direct contact with tutors and so forth. And that's the end of that demo.
Thank you, Graham. That looks really exciting to see the progress on the app. It's looking great. I will take the screen now and introduce Aptem Community. So, Aptem Community, what is it, I hear you ask? Aptem Community will be coming in February, and it's an in-app product hub designed to support all Aptem users to find help, stay informed, and share feedback. What does this mean? Find help in the form of in-app guidance and workflows, quick start manuals and resources to support everyday use, staying informed by receiving updates and announcements to the product without having to log off, and sharing feedback. This is the feature portal, which I'll be showing you, the opportunity to view our roadmap, share feedback on initiatives we're thinking of working on or initiatives that we're working on, as well as the ability to provide general feedback while being inside Aptem. Instead of talking at you with a slide, why don't we see Aptem Community in action and what you can expect to see after next week's release. So I am logged in as a tutor or an admin in this case, and I've landed on my dashboard. And as you can see, I have a guide here waiting for me to explain the value of the dashboard, how to use it, and what I can do here. There's a video. In not all cases will guides have videos, but in this one, we have a video. I can say thank you or close this, and that won't appear for me again. But what if I wanted to see that again? That's where Aptem Community comes in. You can find Aptem Community here at the bottom left. It's a new tab. And by clicking on it, on the first tab called Guided Content, I have my dashboard guide, which is the one that just appeared. So this dashboard guide is appearing because I am an admin. I am on this page, so I'll only receive content referring to the page that I'm on. So a good example is if I go into Checkpoint, wanted to do something with Checkpoint, and I click on Aptem Community and click on Guided Content, you can see that the dashboard guide is not here. It's Checkpoint Reports guide is, because I'm now in Checkpoint. So it's targeted content based on the page that I'm on, and also targeted to me as a user. So if I was a learner, I would be given different content to being a tutor and admin. On top of guided content, I have quick start manuals. Now these are available site-wide, so I don't need to be in Checkpoint in this example. I could be anywhere in the application. And let's say I did my onboarding 6 months ago, and I can't really remember how to use Checkpoint, but I know it was cool, and I want to use it. So I can click on Quick Start Manual, and here I'll have a list of Quick Start manuals on core functionality that I can go through to help me onboard myself again and help me with what I'm trying to do. So for this demo sake, we have a Checkpoint triggers example. And here I can take a look into Checkpoint triggers. It explains to me what the triggers are, how I can use periodic versus automatic. I can choose periodic, for example, and again, that will take me to the relevant page where I can configure periodic checkpoints. Again, in this case, I have a video. Not all cases will we have videos, but a visual representation of how to use the feature will be enabled. I can view the video while in the app, and I can set up now once I've learned about what I want to do. So that's from a getting help perspective with guided content on the relevant page I'm on and quick start manuals to help me onboard into features that I may have forgotten how to use. Another aspect to Aptem Community is the announcements section. In this example here, we have the activity log, which Dan referenced earlier today, is being released to early access customers next week as part of the February release. We can announce the existence of that feature and the fact that it's in early access. And for those customers who have this enabled, we can then take them to the configuration, the settings panel of the activity log to help them configure it. We plan on adding release announcements as well to this, so to keep people informed on product changes within the app. We will be adding those periodically into Aptem community. And finally, we have feature feedback. What is feature feedback? It's exactly what it says. It's the ability to provide feedback on features. By clicking on feature feedback, you open up this portal, which is a representation of our roadmap. We have the exploring section here, which explains all the ideas, initiatives that we're currently exploring and doing discovery work on. We have an under development stage, which shows all the bigger pieces of work that are currently under development. And we also have a completed section to show any work that's been recently completed. Now, here in the portal, I can click on an idea that I'm interested in. I can read it and get a general understanding of what it is, and I can vote. The voting system works as a must-have, nice-have, not interested. I'm going to say must-have. I love this. Marking aid admin is needed. I'm sure you'll have better feedback than I do, and you can submit that. On top of providing specific feedback or voting and adding comments on initiatives and ideas that we have on the roadmap, you can also submit general feedback here at the top. So if you do have feedback about anything else, maybe there's a particular area of the product that you have some feedback on, or you'd like to see some improvements in, you can select that part of the product and add some feedback. On top of that, I can have a view into what I voted on before and the comments I've made. So in my priorities, I can see that I've voted on a few initiatives here. You can see that I've voted must have. I can see the count of how many votes this initiative has had. I cannot see which other customers have voted, so it doesn't tell me who has voted, or it doesn't tell me as a user. It doesn't show me the feedback from other organizations. I can just see which idea is getting more traction than others, and I can see which ones I have voted on, as well as any feedback, general feedback I've submitted in the past. I can keep track of that here. So that's a demo of Aptem community. I will go back to the slides and give time for any questions.
Thanks, Lawrence. So quite a few questions have come in during the course of the presentations, some of which I've tried to answer as we've progressed, and some of which I'll follow up on. There are a few which I'd like us to answer now if we can. So this is one for you really, Graham. Will the app increase the capability of notifications, etc., that we can send to users?
Short answer is yes. That's very much an aspiration that I have. I think notifications in general is something that I spoke to a number of customers about. And with regards to an app, obviously when you're using the native functionality of that, it provides a much better way of interacting with the system. So timely notifications pointing you into the right area of the system, and you just tap on that and it takes you there. The only thing I would say, with the caveat I suppose, is being careful how you manage that, because you don't want to overdo it and just pepper people with too many notifications to the point where they don't become useful anymore. But yeah, absolutely, it's a big feature on the list of things that I'm looking into.
Cool. Another app related question, or more of a theme. So there have been a bunch of questions around whether or not onboarding will be something that we consider as part of the future of the app. What's your view on that?
Yep, that has come up in previous conversations that I've had with some other customers. I think I'd need to do a bit more exploration into what that would look like, but absolutely that's the sort of thing that I'm looking for in terms of what are the features that make sense to put in an app and what do customers feel will be the most benefit for the learners at that level. So absolutely something that we can look into.
Great. As a general theme, just a comment from me. We are very much focused on a relatively small amount of scope for the first iteration of this learner app, because we want to get it in the hands of learners. We want it to be valuable. We want to learn from it. We've not planned out future phases of what that might look like, and it will be very much driven by what we learn through early access trials and the like. So a lot of good questions in the chat, and things that if we don't respond right now, we will do in the future. And you'll be involved in those discussions and conversations as we shape the feature or features moving forward. Lawrence, a few questions for you on the Aptem community stuff. So let me just... So does feedback submitted via this replace the product suggestions we send via tickets?
So short answer, no. And speak to your CSM depending on how your relationship wants to develop. This is another avenue for anyone to provide feedback. We're aware that some of our users don't have access to people within Aptem. Some customers don't have access to a CSM, for example. So this is opening up feedback from everyone and from end users. If you have an established process with the CSMs and the support ticketing system, and that's more appropriate for the type of feedback you're trying to provide, then please continue. And with any doubt, please speak to your CSM.
Cool. And another question related to Aptem community and the voting feature. Can customers see other organisations' feedback and votes?
So you can see the count of votes. So you'll be able to see how many votes an idea has collected over time. You will not be able to see who has provided those votes. So you will not see which other customers have voted. The same with feedback. You'll never see anybody else's feedback. You'll just see your own through the My Priorities section. I guess one thing to point out is we won't be responding to all of these individual feedback suggestions, but if any single piece of feedback does make it to the roadmap and lands in the exploring or under development section, you will receive an email. So if you have voted on something, if you have commented on something on the roadmap and we progress it, you'll be informed via a notification email.
Cool. Going back to the app, do you have a date when the app will be fully rolled out to all customers? I'll take that. No, we don't at the moment. We're very much working through technical feasibility based on a very specific use case around what we're doing with the activity log and potentially embellishing that with virtual assistant and such like. We will have a clearer view of a timeline to that over the course of the next few weeks. And once we've got that, we'll start to engage with customers around what an early adopter process might look like for the Learner app. Questions that we've not managed to respond to during the course of the webinar, we will come back to you individually after the webinar. Thank you very much for your engagement. We've had tons through and more than we could answer. I just wanted to let you know about a couple of upcoming events that we've got from a webinar perspective. So upcoming webinars: Strengthening Oversight, Understanding Ofsted's Governance Agenda with Kerry Buffy. That's next week on the 11th of February between 11 and 12. We've then got Understanding the Changes in the Apprenticeship Accountability Framework, and I've seen a question on that which I'll respond to as well, with David Lockhart-Hawkins. That's next Thursday, 2 till 3. And then Preparing for a DFE Audit, Practical Guide with Carl Bentley. That's taking place on Tuesday, the 14th of April, between 11 and 12. So next week, a couple of meatier ones with everything that's going on at the moment, which I'd encourage you to attend. We'll be posting links to these webinars on our website as well. And that just remains for me to say thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure hosting the webinar. Hope you found it interesting. If you are an existing customer and you've got any questions, please contact your customer success manager. If you're not yet an Aptem customer, why not scan the QR code and look into what we can offer. Thank you very much.